How's it going, creeps? Welcome to episode 22 of Cinema Creep, a Black Mass Films podcast where we dissect all things vile, disgusting, and downright terrifying in the world of horror cinema. I'm Justin, and of course, I am joined by none other than Andrew. We have not podcasted in, like a month and a half?
Been a little while.
Yeah.
But we've had some big things going on, you know. It's been a busy time.
Yep. So, quick recap. In January at the beginning of the year, I lost my mom. She lost her battle with cancer. So that was something, that was heavy for me. So I kind of like took some time away and, was dealing with that in the way that I do. And then we finally started getting some production stuff going back on. So, COVID put a big damper on a lot of the stuff we were trying to do. Because, if you listen to the show, you know that we are filmmakers ourselves, but we have a script we're running with and we're in some pre-production stuff right now. So that's kind of taken the forefront of everything we're doing, but we don't really want to talk about that too much right now because I do eventually want to do a whole episode on that. But, I'd say wait until that's kind of more fleshed out, wouldn't you? Like when we've actually got a film to talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
So, other than that, there's been some family stuff going on and filmmaking stuff going on. But here we are. We're in the talks about, so we can stay consistent, but also be able to work on some of the other stuff. We're probably going to go to bi-weekly. That way we can give you, consistent episodes, but also work on our own films because we were trying to do the weekly thing. And it started to, it's like, whoa, we're just full-time podcasters, which we love. Like, I think we're good at this. We enjoy doing the show. So we're definitely going to keep doing it full time. It's just going to pull back a little so our filmmaking can take the front seat a little bit. But, other than that, how you been? I mean, we work the same day job, so I know how you've been. Yeah. But tell the people how you've been.
I don't know, man. Had a couple hard weeks, like you spoke to that. Other than that, just been busy nonstop and just trying to get through it, man. Trying to get through the seasonal depression and all that kind of shit, that everybody faces around this time of year. That and COVID, man. It's still real. It's still here, and it's still like locking down a lot of shit for everybody. Preventing a lot of stuff from happening. So yeah, just dealing with that. Like it's a reality of life right now. But
strange times.
We're here.
Strange times. Yeah.
Cinema Creep is back.
So a little bit of housekeeping. Of course, this episode is sponsored by Everblack Coffee. So go to everblackcoffee.com. Pick up a bag for yourself. It's what we drink here on the show. Real good stuff coming from those guys. It's ethically sourced. It's organic. And it's a darker twist for, those of you who love horror and just love the macabre. So everblackcoffee.com. And so go get some. Also, this is the first episode. If you're watching this on YouTube, this is the first episode that is uploaded to our new Black Mass Podcast Network channel. The reason for that is we have another podcast that we are going to start called Punk is Dad, and it is a general, podcast because we've noticed that sometimes before and after we record episodes of Cinema Creep, we've got, like hour-long banter or just general live conversations that would make for good podcasts. So that will also be uploaded there. It'll be on Spotify as well, but Cinema Creep and Punk is Dad will live on the Black Mass Podcast Network YouTube channel. So go check that out. And also go look at the Cinema Creep podcast, Instagram and Twitter. So that does it for, the general housekeeping and shout outs. So basically, other than, filmmaking and, working overtime to help fund some films, we've been watching a lot of stuff. So I don't know why I slept on this film, but if you have seen 1BR, it's been out. I think that was 2019. And I had heard about it. They ran a pretty cool Twitter campaign and I just never watched it. Well, I ended up watching it and I convinced Andrew to watch it. We have two differing opinions on it. I loved it and you were just kind of meh. So let me hear why you were meh about it first.
I just wasn't a fan of it. Just wasn't a fan. You know, I'm a pretty avid fan of like horror movies that revolve around cults. Some of my favorite being, of course, I liked Midsummer a lot. You know, I liked The Sacrament. Um, and there's a few other ones that I think are really good. Of course, you know,
Was
you
that The
have
Village?
more tribal stuff, but yeah, The Village was pretty gnarly. But this one I just wasn't feeling. Like, I thought that the story wasn't that great. I felt that a lot of it was really try hard, and I think that the beats of the story didn't do it for me. You know, the acting didn't do it for me. I don't know, wasn't feeling it whatsoever.
For me, I think my biggest issues was the pacing in a couple places. Other than that, I enjoyed the story. I think the acting was, you know, pretty good. There is a couple things I've learned about that film. That actress wasn't originally cast to be the lead actress. They had someone else. Turns out she was extremely difficult to work with and it didn't work out. So they went with the actress they got, which I think she did a good job. I do think there were a couple moments in the film that were cheesy, but not for her acting's sake, just the story, right? Like, you know, you and I have talked about the scene where she like pulls her hands off the walls. Like, you know, that was kind of cheesy. And I think in a couple places the pacing got really rushed. And I think the twist at the end was just kind of like, you know, when it was contained to that one apartment complex, I felt like it was more believable. And in the twist at the end, I was just kind of like, okay. But I liked it. I give it like a 6.5, 7 out of 10.
Was this on Netflix? I don't remember.
Yes, I watched it on Netflix.
Yeah. So was it a Netflix original or no? I can't remember.
I don't think it was a Netflix original, but I'm not sure. Okay. I do like the cinematography. I know that's the first thing that drew me in is how it looked. I did like the way it looked. So,
well, I'm going to tell you it didn't Andrew you in because I wasn't about none of that shit. So,
no. But speaking of Netflix and Netflix originals, I watched the first 2 episodes of Sweet Home, which is a Korean horror series. Now, this I liked. You watched the first 2 episodes as well. And I think we pretty much have the same opinion on this. I love the story. I love the acting. The cinematography is fucking top notch. But that goddamn CGI, dude. Like.
Fucking ruined it. Well, it didn't ruin the show, but it really takes you out because, like Justin said, the cinematography is amazing. The acting is top notch. And you start off and you're like, holy fuck, this is going to be amazing. You know, because if you're a fan of Korean horror, like we are, a fan of Japanese horror, like we are, then you know, like when you just see it, then you know that you found a good one. And this one is a good one until the CGI comes in. But the problem is the whole story revolves around the fucking CGI. So every time that like a CGI'd monster, it's about monsters, right? A CGI monster would come in, you just want to fucking roll your eyes and be like, all right, let's get through this and let's get back to the characters because the characters are actually really interesting, right? The cinematography is really good. The story is really good. It's just the fucking CGI, like you said. And the issue with that, Justin, if you have a minute while I'm talking through this, if you can look up the company that did it, so we just can fire off their name. Like they've done some major stuff. So it's not like they were going with some fly by the night kind of CGI artist. If my memory recalls right, they do like Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff. They do like some of your bigger action movies and stuff that have come out over the recent years, but it's just like this stuff just looked absolutely terrible. Did you find that name?
So I'm looking it up. I'm looking at this article about the VFX, but I can't find.
It's called like if you go to IMDb and you just look at the cast and crew and then.
All right, let's see.
Anyways, I think it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I think they're called like Lightworks or something like that. Like, they've done a lot of really cool shit. So I don't know if like it was budgetary things. I don't know if it was
maybe like a time constraint,
like scheduling issues. Yeah, it was definitely something happening there, or maybe it was even a stylistic decision, right? Legacy Effects
Oh, you found it?
is the company. So Legacy Effects and Spectral Motion, but Legacy Effects, they're the ones that if you Google them, because half the people that are doing the special effects, they are with Legacy Effects. If you look on IMDb, so this is according to IMDb. It looks like they've done Mandalorian stuff, right?
Which is killer.
It looks like they're Oscar nominated, Emmy winning FX Studio, Mandalorian, E.T. Looks like some Jurassic Park shit, The Shape of Water. Like, they've done some real ass shit. So I don't understand why the special effects sucked so bad in this movie. Godzilla, Jurassic World, Guardians of the Galaxy, Daredevil, Grey's Anatomy, which doesn't make a fucking difference there, but they have a shitload of movies on here if you go to legacyeffects.com. So I don't get it, but I would definitely recommend watching Sweet Home if you can get past the shitty monsters in the film.
I mean, if you like body horror and Korean horror, this is definitely up there. The cinematography, if you watch it for anything, the cinematography is fucking beautiful. Like, not just the actual, the technical, like, oh, it just looks really high quality, but like even just the set design and the colors is just really fucking, like, I love it. But yeah, so I recommend Sweet Home, and Andrew does. I am going to finish the series. I've just been watching other stuff. Speaking of series, we both also watched this. I'm fresh off finishing the last episode, but we just checked out Crime Scene: The Vanishing at Cecil Hotel, which is another docuseries on Netflix. Netflix is fucking killing the game with these docuseries. They had Nightcrawler, or not Nightcrawler, fucking Night Stalker. Fucking thinking of Jake Gyllenhaal over here. But yeah, fucking Crime Scene: The Vanishing at Cecil Hotel. So how much about this did you know before going into this documentary?
I actually knew very little about it. Like, I knew what the Cecil Hotel was and kind of knew that it was sort of like a flop house at one time. Your $2 to $3 a night kind of where people take hookers and where people go to like do drugs. Like, I've heard of that shit before because I've watched documentaries on Skid Row.
Yep.
But I didn't know anything about like the murders that happened at the Cecil Hotel. Didn't know anything about the Lisa Lam story that supposedly went viral and all of that. Like, had no clue about it. So that was all brand new to me.
See, I knew about Elisa Lam, but no more than she went missing. I remember in 2013 when that was a thing, I knew she was a Chinese Canadian who went to LA, checked into the Cecil Hotel, and she went missing, and it was all over the internet, and I saw the elevator video. I never knew they found her, and I didn't know the extent of the conspiracies and all of that and the mystique behind the case. So all of that was new to me in this documentary. So it's interesting. It's very the main point of the documentary. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. We're going to just talk spoilers. If you listen to the show, we're talking about things. So if you haven't seen them already, then we're going to spoil it for you. But essentially, the documentary is so cleverly laid out that you think that they're just breaking down this mysterious thing. And then by the end of it, they unravel all of the mystery around it and tell you what really happened. But they dive super deep into how crazy and out of this world the case got, right? With, you had web sleuths, everyone coming together thinking they were going to solve the case, conspiracy theories, was she murdered? Was there some kind of supernatural force at work? Was it a cover up by the police? So.
Yeah, I mean, it was super rad. Like I said, it definitely kept me entertained. And like you said, it's short. It's like 4 episodes, so you can watch it in a night. Like we joked around, it's like the length of one Quentin Tarantino movie. Yeah. So I mean, you can literally sit down and watch it, and that's the best way to do something like this too, is just watch it back to back. And real quick, you touched on Night Stalker.
Yes, that
was an amazingly well shot documentary. Like the way that they delivered, just all the reenactments and even the historical footage and the way it was cut together was just like,
oh dude, yeah. And then
sick.
you had
I really enjoyed that.
Then you had like the shots where it's like You're like, is this CGI or is it a fucking drone shot? You know, or it'd be like a drone shot and then it would cut to like this CG like map. You know what I'm talking about? Like the little like intercutting segments. Like even that was just fucking like, it just a network or Netflix is putting a lot of work into these docuseries. And I'm actually super excited about it because so we've now got Night Stalker. We've got The Vanishing at Cecil Hotel. And I'm sure they're going to do like this is going to be a thing. So.
Yeah, I watched one the other day. Like, this is off topic. I haven't mentioned it to you, but I watched one the other day called Cocaine Island. Like, it is.
That sounds like a B movie. It is fucking ridiculous. It sounds like a B movie.
No, it is ridiculous because, real quick, what it is, it's about this guy who buries, like, he lives on an island and he has a package wash up on the beach on the island he lives on. He opens it up and it's a bunch of cocaine, so he buries it in the ground. And he basically moves back to the mainland, right? But when he moves back to the mainland years later, he tells people, hey, I've got all this coke buried on my property on this island. So this middle American guy goes and starts trying to make like trips out here to this island to dig up this coke. It's just a shit fest. But yeah, it's like a shit fest of something like watching like Joe Exotic or some shit like that.
Oh my
so it's
God.
definitely another, Netflix fucking docuseries that's worth the watch. But yeah, you're right. They're killing it. They're killing it with the docuseries.
Yeah. So now you watched something that I did not watch. Before you go into that, I do want to say you told me to check this out. I didn't have time to watch it before. So this is not horror related at all, but it is a classic. Just before recording this podcast, Katie and I actually watched Gross Point Blank. So it's a fucking classic John Cusack film. I know that
Sick.
That has nothing to do with horror, but yeah, that's what I watched. So that was a nice little break from watching horror stuff all the time. Have you seen Gross Point Blank?
I have. Yeah. It's been a while, but I have seen
it's
it.
Fucking classic. But
good old John Cusack.
Yeah. But so you watched Valentine, which I want to say I've heard of this film and I've never seen the trailer or anything until you were posting it and talking about it. I've just never seen it. It's just one, for some reason, it's not that I was avoiding it. It's just never like come into my radar. So.
Yes, guys. So Valentine, I have never even heard of this film. Surprisingly, never heard of it. Never seen it. It's from 2001, so it's in one of my favorite time periods of horror because when I was a preteen, was in that early 2000s, late 90s teen scream era. This is when I was really seeking out horror films and not just being fed them, right? Because in the late 80s, early 90s, as a kid, I was being fed Freddy, I was being fed Michael, I was being fed Chucky. But when I started going out and actually seeking horror, it was shit like Scream, it's shit like Urban Legend, I Know What You Did Last Summer, The Faculty, stuff like that, right? So I'm surprised I didn't see this one, right? Because it falls right in that time frame. So Valentine, of course, with the theme of today, our Valentine's Day episode, this movie takes place and kind of circles around Valentine's Day, right? Real quick. Director Jamie Blanks, writers Tom Savage. It stars a whole lot of big stars: Denise Richards, David Boreanaz, which is that dude that played Angel in that weird vampire show.
Oh yeah, David Boreanaz,
Marley Shelton. Yeah, there was a bunch of people in this movie, right? And this movie 100% is a hot, steamy pile of shit when you watch it in 2021, right? Like it's terrible. But if you put on your 8th grade, 9th grade, like, hey, I'm going to the movies with like, some friends or a girlfriend, boyfriend type of deal, like this is the kind of shit you wanted to see because it has a lot of those early 2000s, like hot and steamy, kind of like Cruel Intention type fucking vibes to it. And it's just like, it feeds on that time period because you have a soundtrack with all of those bands that were in stuff like Queen of the Damned. You have like songs by Marilyn Manson in this, songs by Deftones in this, songs by Disturbed in this, like.
So this is interesting.
Just
so I looked this up on IMDb. So Tom Savage is actually a novelist. So there is a book.
Right.
So the screenplay was written by Donna Powers and Tom Savage wrote the novel. So this.
Oh, you're right.
So this is I just think that's crazy. This was a fucking novel before. So the movie was literally based on a book. So that's pretty neat.
Well, I could see it being a better book than I could see it being a movie.
Is it like a Dane Koontz book?
It is 100% like over exuberant every aspect of the word, because like you see the locations that they film in this movie and you're like, holy shit, like they're like in like this castle mansion thing for half the movie. You're like, what the fuck? How did they secure that location? That must have been most of the budget there, you know? And then just to get like Denise Richards was probably the other half of the budget. You know what I mean? It's like,
Right.
because she was huge at the time, right? Like, I don't know. So it's a must watch, not because it's good by today's standards, but it will take you back for sure.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. So, being our Valentine's Day episode, we cannot skip for our first Valentine's episode as a podcast, 1981's My Bloody Valentine. It
is literally the only Valentine horror movie
besides
other
Valentine.
than Valentine. So of course you can't skip it. We can't skip it.
Well, there's the
Like you said, we can't
2009
skip it.
remake, which we'll draw some comparisons to this one in a bit. I haven't watched that in a while. Andrew's fresh off of it, so this is a
Locked and
1981
loaded.
classic for me. This is a I own this on Blu-ray. I have the director's cut that has the 3 minutes of footage put back in, because this film, so it's a Canadian horror film. That actually, in order to get an R, had like 9 minutes of footage cut out of it. And they've since put 3 minutes back in. So it's written by Stephen Miller and John Beard, directed by George Mihalka, and it's starring Paul Kelman, Laurie Hallier, and Neil Affleck. So if you are unfamiliar with this film, it is as fucking absurd as you would expect for a slasher film about Valentine's Day. The synopsis is a decades old folktale surrounding a deranged murderer killing those who celebrate Valentine's Day turns out to be true to legend when a group defies the killer's orders and people start turning up dead.
The story is fucking... It is asinine. Like, it is fucking just ridiculous. And I mean, this is where I want you to take it, because I'll start just tearing apart the story. Justin, I want you to talk about just like overview the fucking story, because it drives me crazy. Like, it is so hilarious to me that this is even... Was it like, how did they think of this?
Okay, well, so the thing is, you've got to realize this was fresh off of... So you had Halloween in 1978. Friday the 13th was 1980, right? So there was this thing going on where all these people were trying to make horror movies about holidays. You've even got Mother's Day. When did Mother's Day come out? Let me see. Mother's Day.
On Mother's Day.
Ooh, there was a 2010 Mother's Day remake. That's fucking...
Yeah.
That's weird. So anyway, you had these... Mother's Day was also 1980. So I think people were fresh off the success of Black Christmas and Halloween. Were trying to...
Oh, they were trying to cash in on it. They were trying to cash in on the holiday thing.
You've even got April Fool's
fantastic.
Day is a horror film.
That's fantastic. Like, I'm on board with that, but I'm talking about the actual fucking story. So with what I want you to talk about. But so before that, if you guys are familiar with the story of this, I think that this movie would have been so much more gnarly if it would have been... The story would have been something like The Prowler. Like,
yes,
if you've ever seen The Prowler, it's like this
Prowler.
Dude, he's like just in World War II get up, going around killing people. It's not like, well, he lives in fucking he lives in Normandy. You know what I mean? And he's killing people in a World War II museum or some shit like that. It's like, no, it's like this movie added all this extra shit. Like, My Bloody Valentine added all this extra shit that I think that they didn't need to add.
I don't think they needed to,
just to drive home.
But I think it makes it fun.
Just to have the costume. Just to have, well, I mean, that's debatable, but just to have the costume.
Yeah. But I do love The Prowler. I think this would make a good double feature with The Prowler, honestly.
Tell me about the story, Justin.
So the story, it revolves around this little town, which what makes it crazy is this town is like in love with the idea of Valentine's Day, so much that the town is called Valentine's Bluff. And every year they have this fucking Valentine's dance. So the story kicks off with it's a mining town, so the workers are in the mine, but it's also the Valentine's dance. So the two supervisors are in a hurry to get to the dance. They're like these 50-year-old dudes, by the way. And so they leave.
Not weird at all.
So they leave, and 5 of the people get trapped when there's an explosion in the mine. One of these workers happens to be Harry Warden, who, in order to survive, kills and eats the other people that are trapped with him. And then they find him, and he's gone batshit crazy. So he spends a year in a mental institution, and then he escapes, and he murders the 2 supervisors that, left them in the mine.
Hold on one second. I don't want Justin to gloss over that the supervisors had the most fucking important job because they had to check methane gas levels that were going in the mine. They were like, right? Nah. This is important because, listen to this. When you're hitting axe against this fucking coal or this iron ore or whatever they're mining, it creates sparks. When those gas vapors and those sparks mix, it creates an explosion. That's what caused the mine to cave in. So not only did these supervisors have a super fucking important job, they were like, no, fuck that. We're going to go to the Valentine's Day dance. Fuck those dudes down there. They'll be all right with that methane gas.
Which, quick little production thing talking about the explosions. So when they filmed this, they actually shot this in a mine. In an actual mine in Nova Scotia in Canada. And they actually had to use very specific lights when lighting the scenes for that reason, because they didn't want explosions. So these guys leave. Explosion happens. They're trapped. So, he eats the people. He gets out. He kills the 2 supervisors. And he warns the town, cancel Valentine's Day forever or more people are going to die. And now we cut to 20 years later. And what are these so this movie doesn't have like the typical teenagers like other slashers do. They're like, young adults, like from probably like 21 to like 30.
Which makes everything so much more weird. Like that these young adults are like, oh yeah, fucking Valentine's Day dance.
Yeah,
like,
but it's Valentine's bluff,
don't
man.
You guys like, have kids or like fucking go to work? Like, I mean, I know you're in the mines, like, why are y'all so excited about the Valentine's Day dance?
They love their damn job, too. They're all about working in the fucking mine and showering together and shit. But so now they're like...
showering together, whipping each other with
there's like a whole scene
shit.
of that, and it's fucking really weird. But so essentially, they're like, it's been 20 years. Let's fucking have a Valentine's dance. So they're literally going, completely bonkers, decorating the town. Like there's hearts hanging everywhere. They're decorating this union hall. And they're planning a fucking dance. They're like, the Harry Warden thing is fucking bullshit. It's a legend. It's time to move on, and we're going to do this. Of course, that's not how it happens. Everything hits the fan. But I want to say, if they would have just prepared better, if they would have prepped the dance better, Harry Warden wouldn't have got pissed. And the way to prep that dance is have some Everblack coffee. So we are going to take a quick Everblack coffee sponsor break, and then we'll get back into the story and dissect it, and it's gonna be a bloody good time. How's it going, creeps? One quick mid-episode break to tell you a little more about our sponsor. Since 2016, Everblack Coffee Company has delivered exceptional single-origin coffee and high fives all over the world. They understand that a cup of coffee is so much more than something you drink. That's why they source their beans from farms that only use fair trade and organic growing practices. When you buy coffee from Everblack, you can be certain that you're getting the highest quality coffee available by ethical means only. It's time to start looking at coffee differently. Head over to everblackcoffee.com and grab a bag for yourself. It's deliciously dark. Now back to the show. So we've now established the backstory, right? The town didn't celebrate Valentine's Day for 20 years because Harry Warden said not to. Of course, you can't have that, right? Then you don't have a plot for the movie. So like we said, these kids start decorating and they're planning to have this fucking Valentine's dance. And then people start dying, bodies start dropping, and
people getting picked off.
People getting picked off. That pun is very intended. So what happens is they start getting these little, like the heart-shaped candy boxes, but they've got like human hearts in them and shit. And he's dropping them off to people and leaving little notes with poems and explaining to people, you're not listening. Like, I am going to kill people. So now everyone's trying to, like, they're in a frenzy. The bartender's telling people, you know, he's like old Ralph from Friday the 13th. There's a death curse. He's like explaining to people who Harry Warden is. And
he's like, y'all gonna die, motherfuckers. And they're like, nah.
Pretty much. They don't believe him. At this point, this generation thinks that Harry Warden's a legend, a myth. And turns out he's not. Or is he?
Okay, so yeah. So here's the thing. Like Justin said, they have the town basically all decorated for Valentine's Day, which is fucking weird anyways, that any town would ever do that. And you have the mayor, and you have like, I don't know what she is, but she's like the lady that runs the laundromat, and she's sort of like Mabel. Yeah, she's I don't know what her fucking role is. I don't care. She's party plan commission chief. And all the kids, they're decorating the Union Hall, like Justin said. And going back to this specifically, this is where you meet TJ, this is where you meet Axel, and this is where you meet Sarah, right? So you have this love triangle going on. So TJ and Sarah used to be together, but TJ left town.
They used to go together, as they say.
Yeah. So he said, fuck this Valentine's Day bluff, fucking ass piece of shit town. I'm out of here. He ends up coming back to town. And when he comes back, Axel and Sarah are together. So you have TJ and Axel that are basically bumping heads the entire movie, except when they're playing harmonica together for some odd ass fucking reason, right? Like, who understands that whole scene? I fucking don't. But
well, they have a weird dynamic the whole time anyway, because you got to think this is a small mining town. These people grew up together. They probably all went to the same little school. And then this is the kind of town where it's like, if you're a guy, like once you graduate, you work at the mine.
There's only one girl in this town. We're all fighting over her.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, they probably, that kind of makes it look like they were like bros at one time, right? And basically Sarah got in the way of that.
Well, it's that, and the whole thing is TJ left. So they're all like, you can't just leave and then come back and come in here and expect everything to be the way it used to be.
So you're telling me you're Team Axel? That's what you're telling me?
No,
hold your tongue. Hold your tongue and say Axel.
I know it sounds like asshole.
Tell me what you get.
Look, I'm not team either one of them.
Team TJ.
I'm just saying
Team
that's
TJ.
That's
Team TJ.
Say that 5 times fast.
Don't tempt me.
Don't threaten me with a good time. Yeah. But no, that's basically what they're telling him, right? It's like, you went away and now you come back and you just expect everything to be the same. Also note, the mine is owned by TJ's dad. So
I don't give a fuck.
No, I'm just saying that's a thing in the film, because there's a couple times
that's
where
why I'm Team TJ. He's got clout.
Because you're all about nepotism. That's not clout.
He's got clout in Valentine's Bluff.
That's not clout. That's nepotism.
We can fuck around all day. TJ's the GOAT. So, because you remember that whole scene where he basically kidnaps Sarah and takes her to the fucking lake? Remember? She's like, I don't want to go with you, TJ. And he's like, well, you're going, and pushes her in the fucking car and drives her out to the lake.
He's literally just like, I don't care.
Yeah, he's like, I don't give a shit. And then takes her to the lake, and then he's like, starts massaging her shoulders, and he's like, do you remember this spot? And she's like,
you left, TJ.
Yeah, this is fucking weird. Anyways, so back to the story plot in its whole, right? So you have this movie. Yeah, well, it basically takes place on February 12th. This is 2 days before Valentine's Day, right? The whole town is decorated, but like Justin said, all these candy heart boxes start popping up, and with these weird little notes and body parts in them and shit. And people are like, oh, fuck, Harry Warden is back. He's here. And the mayor's like, you know what? We got to cut this shit out. This was a bad idea on my part. I guess 20 years late is still too soon for Harry Warden, so we're not having this dance. So they locked down the Union Hall where they were going to hold the dance. And all the not teenagers, they're fucking young adults. All the fucking townspeople were like, you know what? Fuck this bullshit. We're having the dance. We're having a Valentine's Day party anyway. And
TJ's like, we'll do it at the fucking mine.
Yeah, well, he's like, well, we're going to do it at this little fucking, I can't remember where it is. It's a place with a pool table. They're like, we're going to fucking do it here. This is just as cool. Which in reality, their second place looked a whole lot fucking cooler than the Union Hall anyways. It had a pool table. It had a pool table, right? That's cool. So they're all getting drunk, right? And the police chief doesn't know they're doing it. The mayor doesn't know they're doing it, and they're fucking partying. And for some reason, Justin, maybe you know this because you have a wealth of weird ass knowledge. Why were women not allowed down in the mine? Any idea?
I mean, you got to think the time period though too.
It's
Like
okay to say you don't fucking know.
no,
All right,
I
so
don't.
Justin
I
doesn't
don't know. But
so
look, I'm assuming this is 1981. A mine job is a man's job. Like,
have you ever seen the movie?
that's not my opinion. I'm just saying I can imagine that's where this was, because this is that kind of small town where like the women, have their little jobs, and the men go do the quote manly work and get dirty in the mine, and then
whip each other in the ass with towels
whip each other
while
in
they're
the ass with
showering.
towels and throw bars of soap at each other. Now,
Which
I want to point out,
apparently is
I think the place where that had the pool table, that was at the mine, was it not? Because remember, he's like, yeah, we got everything we need at the mine, because that was like the little hangout area. That was like the lounge at the mine.
Maybe. I don't know. Like, I mean, that's where they should have probably had the dance to begin with.
I mean,
but regardless,
they shouldn't have had a dance at all, because Harry Warden said fuck no.
So yeah, well, whatever. Like, Harry Warden's on some bullshit, but we'll get to that in a minute. So apparently the women weren't allowed down in the mine, like not during work hours or probably any hours or whatever. So they're all getting drunk, and all of the females, they're like, hey, let's go ride the fucking roller coaster. That's what they were kind of saying it was. Let's go ride the roller coaster, in the mine carts. And of course the guys are like, well, whatever, like, I'm not going to clap cheeks if I don't take these girls in the roller coaster. So they're put them in the mine carts, and they start riding down the shaft. This sounds way sexier than I intended.
Riding down the shaft.
And so, they're drunk. They're going down into the dark mine. And it's probably 6 of them. Like, the whole group didn't go, which is an important plot point. Justin, you want to take it from there? You want me to keep talking? I can fucking just make this sound super sexy.
You were listening.
Yeah.
I don't even know where I was going with that, but
go ahead.
Well, basically, the girls are getting bored, and they're like, well, let's fucking go down here, right? So all the men, they work at the mine. So what's the guy's name with the killer mustache that has a huge hat collection?
I don't know. I was calling him Justin James the whole time.
Is it because he was chubby, or because he had a mustache, or because he had a lot of hats?
No, because he was taking charge of the situation, man.
Yeah, all right. Nice, nice backtracking there, Mr. Team TJ. Mr. Team wears a fucking handkerchief around his neck. But
it was kind of weird, yeah.
Yeah, so they're going on this little tour of the mine. And then, of course, they all start getting separated. 2 of them go off to do what, people do. They're trying to have sex in this the side room. They end up getting screwed anyway. They get this big, like, mining drill stuck through them. And they're starting to get picked off one by one. And then TJ's like, oh, shit, they're all down there. Harry Warden's here. They've now figured out that he's killed 2 people. So TJ and Axel, they decide we're going to suit up and go save everybody. We've been at each other's throats, but now we're going to save the day. So now they both go in the mine, and they're trying to wrangle everyone up. This is where we get the twist. So this movie was never set up like a whodunit. So the first time you watch this, you're probably, oh shit, Harry Warden's back and means business, right? It's never shot or written in a way, at least in my opinion, that makes you think, oh, it's got to be this person, or it's probably this person. It's not like Scream, or any kind of whodunit film. So at this point, everyone thinks Harry Warden's really killing people. No one suspects anybody. You got TJ saving people. You've got Axel showing up, saving certain people, and being like, well, where's so-and-so? Well, then Axel gets separated from the group. And then out of nowhere, it's like you think, okay, well, TJ's got everybody. He's got Sarah, and he's got old girl. I don't remember her name. And they're about to leave the mine. And they're like, old red dress. So they're about to leave the mine, and they're trying to figure out, well, where is Axel? So then Harry Warden comes out, and he starts fighting TJ. So TJ's like, well, fuck this. We're going to jump on the mine car. So they start it up. They jump in it. And this is the most awkward chase scene ever, because now Sarah and TJ are in mine cars, and they're like going from car to car to get away, because Harry Warden has also climbed on board.
Some say that this scene inspired all of Crash Bandicoot, but continue.
Yeah. So he's now walking like a car length behind him, going from car to car with them. But at the same time, the mayor, the sheriff, and the whole town has shown up at the mine because they've been alerted. Harry Warden's here. He's killing people. We know we fucked up and we were having a party on your fucking property, but whatever. So the whole like town is coming as a mob to kick some Harry Warden ass, right? So they're coming down the mine as they're trying to escape. So they have to run into this little side door because Harry Warden's like, nah, see, I'm on the car too. I'm right here. So they go in this little like part of the shaft and this like mine shaft and they start fighting. And I don't remember exactly how it happens now, but it ends up all of the there's like is there an explosion? I don't fucking remember now. For some reason, I can't remember. It's when TJ and Harry Warden are fighting and all of the rubble falls. And but right before it falls, he rips his mask off or hit the mask off of Harry Warden. And who the fuck is it?
It's Asshole, man.
It's fucking Axel. Turns out fucking one of the supervisors that Harry Warden killed was Axel's fucking dad.
Yeah, it was Asshole's dad. That's why I'm Team TJ. I knew Axel wouldn't shit the whole time.
You ain't shit.
You ain't shit, Axel. You're named after a fucking car part, dickhead.
So I'm still just like, what the fuck is Sarah's problem? Because even after this happens, all the debris falls on Axel. And the townspeople are finally coming in there and TJ's like, he's in there. And it wasn't Harry Warden. And they're like, we know. He's like, it was Axel. And they're like, what? But then Sarah's dumbass is like, I have to go see him.
You want to know why?
Why?
Axel has that big pick energy.
Big pick energy. Yeah. So she runs back in there, you know, because why not? And you see his hand and they're like, he's still alive. Well, then you find out because you see through like a crack, he's ran through the other side of this tunnel and he's like ripped his own arm off to get out. And he's like laughing all crazy. It's like this dude has been like fairly sane for the entire film. And now he's completely fucking unhinged and he's like laughing. And did you hear the last line? Because it's very quiet.
Nah, man, I was already checked out at that point.
He's laughing and he's talking about how he'll be back. And then he goes, oh, Sarah, my bloody Valentine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's it. That's how the film ends. It cuts to credits.
That's it. So, there's a lot, right? There's a lot to like and a lot to dislike about this movie. So real quick, Justin, I want to tell you why I like it and why I dislike it in a very condensed couple sentences. I like it because it is outrageous in every aspect of the word. I like it because it didn't try to be something that it couldn't be, right? You know, it was like, okay, this is about a fucking mining town. It's about some stupid ass fucking mining folk that, you know, live here. You know, it's like it didn't try to like go outside its means to be anything else.
Right.
But that's also why I disliked it, because it was like, you know, I mentioned, if it would have gone the way of like the Prowler and not played too much up on these other things, like, well, let's have it in a mining town. The dude could have just had that fucking cool costume. I feel like they were like, well, what's a fucking scary costume? Because we need to figure out something for our character because the other slashers have this cool shit. I feel like that's what it was. I feel like, well, let's just fucking, you know, there's a mining town over here. Let's make him wear this fucking mining gear that nobody else fucking wears. Nobody else is wearing a fucking face mask around in that shit. You know,
it could have still been in a mining town and had the mining outfit. But I think what makes that weird is the fact that there's the Valentine's aspect, right? I think they could have had the same story, but they got trapped down there for some other reason. Maybe it was just negligence in general, not, well, we got to get to this fucking Valentine's dance.
It would have made more sense if one of the supervisors, let's say it's Valentine's Day, and one of the supervisors had like a woman show up or something, right? And like, he's like, okay, well, I'm going to make out with this lady or something like that because it's Valentine's Day. And then the negligence happened. But like two 50-year-old dudes just like, I can't wait to get to the Valentine's Day dance together. It's like, that is the dumbest shit I've ever heard in my life. That many people actually giving a fuck about Valentine's Day. Like nobody on this earth other than Walgreens gives a fuck that much about Valentine's Day.
Hallmark.
Period. No, fucking no. Not even close to as much as Walgreens cares.
No, I mean like Hallmark makes the fucking Valentine's cards.
You hear that silence?
Yeah, is that you not caring?
Anyways, thanks for that tidbit. See, this is that wealth of knowledge that you have that, like, you know,
That random useless fucking knowledge.
that is good at slumber parties that people talk about in the dark. Like when you're laying there in the darkness and somebody's like, well, you know, all those Walgreens cards, those are made by Hallmark. Like that's the appropriate time to bring that shit up, Justin, not in the middle of the podcast.
What the fuck kind of slumber parties are you going to?
Fun ones.
Fun ones. Anyway, so yeah, but no, I get it. Like, I think that's the cheesy aspect. And I think it's because, like we talked about, you know, you had Black Christmas, Halloween, Friday the 13th, Mother's Day. They're like, well, we need to make a film about Valentine's Day. So let's just fucking give it a weird. I think they rushed into, you know, the plot, the whole thing. Because even the town is called Valentine's Bluff. But it's like one of those things is, did you name the town that because you love Valentine's Day, or are you obsessed with Valentine's Day because it's your town's namesake? So
I will say the movie has like one of the coolest fucking horror film names ever, though. Like My Bloody Valentine. That's like,
oh yeah,
that's so gnarly, right? That like I feel like a better horror movie should have had that title. I think that's one of my biggest complaints with the movie. Like it is not a bad movie. I like the movie. It's fun, right? I would give it a 7. Like it's solid. And I want to show it to people that have never seen it. I own it on VHS. You know, like it is. I've watched it 3 times over the last 48 hours because I watched it on VHS. I watched it on Amazon Prime twice. I watched it 2 weeks ago. So I've actually watched it 4 times in the last month. Right. And then I watched the remake like a couple hours ago, which I want to talk about just before we end the podcast. But real quick too, Justin, I want to know like what was your favorite kill from this movie and like what was your favorite overall scene?
Okay, so my favorite kill, the body count of this film, by the way, is 16, which definitely passes the slasher test. But
I think slasher test.
Yeah, but what 5 of them were off screen because that's where you know, he eats the other miners to survive. But my favorite kill is probably the bartender, because that's where he's setting up the fake Harry Warden, because he's like, oh, I'll teach those kids. So he's got this fake miner rigged up with a pickaxe to where when you open the door, he like pops out. And he's so proud of what he's done that he keeps opening the door and he's like, ha ha ha, that'll show him.
That
and
scene
then
was so awkward.
Yeah. But then he's got to do it one more time. And then when he does it, he's actually there and then he kills him. And he like slings the pickaxe up and it goes through his head and his eyeball pops out.
Oh,
so
that's my favorite one too.
That's pretty gnarly.
Through the eyeball.
Yep.
Well, that and then just when old dude finds fucking Mabel in the dryer.
The laundromat.
Yeah, because he opens the dryer in the laundromat and her body just flops out. That's pretty gnarly. But I mean, that's not necessarily a kill. That's more of like, I found this fucking body kind of deal.
Yeah.
And then just favorite overall scene. Like I know that I've seen it being kind of picked on and saying it's kind of cheesy, but I like when is it Sarah? I can't remember which fucking character it is. It's when she's down in the it's like when she's where the showers are at the mine and all the costumes
Sarah.
are
That's
dropping.
The girl that dies. I was going to say that too because
yeah.
That, you know, she's waiting
the
for
one
her
that gets
boyfriend
hung
to
up
get
on
back.
the fucking she's the one that gets hung up on the shower.
Yeah. So I like that scene too because they even foreshadow it. She's like, "How do you get those down?" And like he pulls the cord, and the uniform drops down, and then whenever Harry or Axel at this point is in there, like he's pulling them all down, and she's like, "Oh, what the fuck?" So yeah, I like that scene too. I'd give this film a 7 out of 10, not for story, but just because it is so fun, and I do think it's so different from the other films. It's like it's got its own little, you know, it's got its own charm. So a 7 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, so 7 out of 10. And before we go, Justin, I want to draw some comparisons real quick because we can't not mention the remake from 2009.
Well, do you want to do that right now, or do you want to talk about a couple of little fun production things?
You tell me the fun production things.
Okay, so of course this film takes place in Valentine's Bluff, but that is not a real place. Thank fucking God. Can you imagine? Like the tourism during Valentine's Day. But
people be trying to get their suck on.
Yeah. So this was actually filmed at Princess Colliery Mine in Sydney Mines, which is in Nova Scotia, Canada, which it closed in 1975. So whenever they were like, yeah, we're going to film something there, the town thought that it was going to be so good and bring in tourism and all this stuff. And they wanted the mine to look good. So they paid, I think, I read something about $50,000. That could be wrong. But they paid thousands of dollars to have the mine cleaned and made look super nice, right? But when they were scouting the locations, the production wanted to shoot there because the mine was like old and dirty. So they paid almost twice as much money to redo the mine the way it originally was. So, yeah. But so Neil Affleck, who played Axel, he was also in Scanners. And he went on to direct a lot of shit. So he's directed animated shows, including episodes of Family Guy, The Simpsons, and even Paw Patrol. So
hell yeah.
That's fucking weird. But yeah, I mean, other than that, it's just, a cheesy 80s movie with its own little twist on the slasher genre. So take us to the remake, 2009.
Fast forward to 2009, My Bloody Valentine. In 3D. Imagine it's you and your lover, and you're sitting in the theater in the middle row, and you get a pickaxe thrown at your face. Scary.
I don't know if that was a sexual entendre or...
I mean, could be. So this follows the same story, right? So real quick synopsis. Tom returns to his hometown on the 10th anniversary of the Valentine's Night massacre that claimed the lives of 22 people. Instead of a homecoming, Tom finds himself suspected of committing the murders, and it seems like his old flame is the only one that believes he's innocent. So this also has a Tom, like TJ from the original, and an Axel and a Sarah. This movie was written by Patrick Lussier and Todd. Well, no, it was directed by Patrick Lussier, written by Todd Farmer, Zane Smith.
Fuck Todd Farmer is all I gotta say.
Stars Jensen Ackles, Jamie King, and Kerr Smith. Todd Farmer
wrote Jason X.
Tell me more about Todd Farmer and why like his role in this movie is funny.
So look, this dude wrote Jason X, so that's enough for me to say fuck him. But there's a scene in this movie I remember. It's a sex scene, and the dude is butt ass naked. That is Todd Farmer, or is it Tom Farmer? What'd you say is fucking yeah? Either way. It's that dude. So when he was writing this movie, he was like, I want a scene where I'm fucking naked. And I'm like,
well, no,
what?
See, it's not just about that. He wrote a scene where he's like, it's a sex scene. Like he's having sex. And he wrote it specifically for him to be, because the girl he's with, they're both like butt ass naked, and she's grinding all over him, spends a lot of time like just on top of him naked and shit. So it's kind of funny that like the only scene that he's in the movie is a sex scene. And he's like, oh, I got to play this part. Right.
Yeah. And it's like, what the fuck, dude?
The way this movie mainly differs is it doesn't spend as much time in the mine. Like,
didn't they also, he didn't eat them. He killed them so they wouldn't take his air, right?
Right. So like Harry Warden, he's still called Harry Warden in the remake, but he comes out of the mine and he's killing people in the town and shit like that more than in the original. So that kind of differentiates it. And the remake doesn't really have much to do with Valentine's Day. Like it's just mentioned, like there's a couple candy hearts here and there, but it's not like the town is doing some Valentine's Day dance shit or nothing like that. So it plays a whole lot less on Valentine's Day. And of course, it being a 3D movie, if you're not watching it in a 3D cinema, you're going to get all of those little stupid quirks where all of a sudden you see him doing things intentionally for the 3D camera.
Like the yo-yo in Friday the 13th, part 3.
Right. You'll see him like throw like a pickaxe at the screen, and you're like, well, that's not really like, that doesn't make any fucking sense unless you're watching it in 3D, right? But you know, Tom Atkins is in the
that's the
remake, which is
saving
fucking
grace.
gnarly, right? Like, you guys know he's Season of the Witch, he's in The Fog, he's in fucking tons of other stuff, but The Fog is his performance for me. Like, Tom Atkins, killer dude. You
got to give him. He's got one-liners in that too. Isn't he like? He's got the classic Tom Atkins badass shit where he's like, "Stand down, everybody! God damn it, stand down!" and shit like that. So
yeah. In this movie, guys, again, it's in that 2009 period, you know, where you got a lot of that cheesy horror that was coming out. Not as bad as like Valentine from 2001. But there's a whole lot of cheesiness here where it really plays on like romance. Like they put a lot of romance in there because you still have the love triangle between Tom, which was, you know, TJ in the previous film, Sarah and Axel. But the fun thing about this one is it doesn't follow the same structure as who's the killer in the end, like the original. They actually flip-flop it. And if you've seen the original, then you watch the remake, you're like, well, here we go again, because you think it's going to end exactly the same, but it actually swaps it, which is pretty interesting, right? It's cool that they did that. But this movie is far shittier than the original. The only thing I will say is there's some creative kills in this one, like
the shovel,
which is the gnarliest one, right? So he takes who you think is Harry Warden, takes a shovel to this woman's face and basically cuts her face in half, and her face slides down the top of the shovel. Pretty gnarly. And then when he pushes that, I'm pretty sure it's this movie, not Valentine. I've been watching too many fucking Valentine's Day movies where he pushes that woman's face through that big shard of glass.
Yeah, I don't remember.
And they also pay homage to the scene where Mabel gets found in the dryer, right? They have the same thing in this. They find somebody in a dryer, but the hilarious part, it's a dryer in a house. It's like a Whirlpool, like front loader dryer. I don't know. I would say skip My Bloody Valentine 3D, watch the original. But if you have to watch My Bloody Valentine 3D, watch it with somebody that you're going to break up with right after. So their last memory of you is this film.
Yeah. So I think that's going to wrap it up, don't you think, this week?
I think that's it, man. DTV, down to Valentine.
Yeah, DTV. So I hope you guys are having a rad Valentine's Day. And if you're not listening to this episode with your honey on this day, then you're doing Valentine's Day wrong. So do you want to shout out your socials real quick?
Yeah, guys, you can find me on any social media platform there is under the sky at Drewcifer. That is DREWXCIFER. It rhymes with Lucifer.
Yep. And you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Justin James TV. And of course, check out our new YouTube, which is Black Mass Podcast Network. Check out Black Mass Films on YouTube and Instagram. And of course, Cinema Creep Podcast is Cinema Creep Pod on Twitter and Cinema Creep Podcast on Instagram. And we will see you guys in 2 weeks.
Are we Canadian? Is that where we're always on some yep shit? We're always like, yep.
This was a Canadian horror film, but
yeah, it was.
Yeah. So we'll catch you guys later.
See you.